What's going on, you guys? Welcome to episode 9 of the Trainer Talk. Today we're going to be talking about gut health and how it could be keeping you from achieving your goals, and not only that, but also leading to a number of different health effects. And so we want to talk about how it's affecting our health and our digestion and our food, as well as ways that we can improve our gut health so that we can get better results and improve our overall health over time. So Bethany's going to kick us off with the science part of our gut health and give you guys some stats, and then we'll just kind of bounce back and forth talking about ways that you can improve them.
All right, so just kind of like a basic rundown of what we mean by like gut health. Health is defined as the absence of disease, but that's kind of a looser term. We like to go a little bit more in depth of just saying like it's optimized. That's what health is, like the optimized function. And speaking of your gut, that's all your digestive tract. So that's anything from your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and then excreting throughout the process. So where we want to focus on for gut health is any kind of issues of like digestion, bloating, like when you eat a certain food, you tend to feel, you can feel more tired. You could also just feel a little bit more groggy or even sick after eating certain kinds of foods, and that can be a sign of digestive issues, not necessarily food intolerance. And why that is because inside of our gut, which is actually, you can think about it as being on the outside of our body, because it's opening to opening, kind of like a donut hole. You know, there's a middle side, which is where our gut lining would be. It's not actually inside of our body until our body absorbs it.
Yeah.
So what kind of can cause these issues is what are called our microbiome. So that is all of the bacteria and healthy or unhealthy microbes that live in our gut that helps digest our food and turns it into things that our body can actually absorb and use. So with that being said, the good versus the bad. So the good bacteria, that feeds on healthier foods, stuff that's going to produce healthy things for our body to help optimize our function, our health, and even our fitness, how we look, how we perform, and how we feel in the gym. So there's a lot of good bacteria, there's also a lot of bad bacteria. What that feeds on is the refined carbs, the processed foods, like alcohols, things like that. So things that aren't really good for our body, aren't as natural, that's what that feeds on. And depending on how many you have can dictate what you crave. So people who tend to eat more unhealthy foods, they actually have more of the bad gut bacteria because their body adapts. The microbiome is one of the most adaptable things in our body, because if you're only eating, junk food, refined processed food, it's going to produce more of that microbiome of the bad bacteria because, that's what's going to break it down and process it. But that, leads to more inflammation and more problems. Whereas you have more good foods, feeds the good bacteria, which in turn leads to, better health overall. So it depends on what you eat, depends on what grows your microbiome.
So you're saying if you eat a lot of kind of junk food, for example, you'll actually end up craving more junk food because of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that bacteria is growing and it wants to continue growing, so it's basically telling your body, which she'll talk about this as well, your gut is like your second brain. It's going to tell you to eat more of that food because it wants more and more and wants to thrive.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about the gut, it actually has its own nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system, and it actually connects to the brain directly through the vagus nerve. It also connects to all other major organ systems, except for the adrenals. That's the one thing it doesn't. So the gut is actually influencing everything in your body, and it produces hormones. Especially like insulin, you hear that, but it also plays into like serotonin, and then it affects like dopamine, all those like feel-good hormones. That's why when you eat sugar, you feel good, and sets off that dopamine response, serotonin. So depending on like your gut health, it can really sway how you feel, how you perform, how you look, just because of like the hormones and how it affects your body overall. And another little aspect with that is like with your gut health being like so important and having so much effect on your whole body, it's really important in like your immune response. So 80% of your immune defense is in your stomach. That's like one of the first lines of defense before it gets into the body, because remember, when you eat something, it has to be absorbed through the body. So if you eat something and it has some sort of like bacteria or virus on it, then your digestive tract is the first line of defense. So 80% of that occurs there before it gets absorbed into the body. So yeah, do you have anything to add on the immune system?
Yeah, so when we talk about the immune system, like think about COVID-19, for example. Like if you're feeding your body for years of processed foods and sugary foods and stuff that's basically wreaking havoc on your digestive tract, your immune system is in this constant battle with all that distress in your gut. So if something like COVID comes along and you get sick, you're going to be somebody that deals with way worse side effects because your immune system's already busy fighting this battle against your gut system, all this bad bacteria that you talked about. So you can only do so much. So that's why some people might not have any issue, whereas some people get really, really sick or even possibly die from it. It's because their immune response or immune system is either very weak or it's already busy doing so many other things. And overweight and obese people, they already have so much inflammation in their body. Inflammation is dealt with by the immune system as well. So if you have all this going on in your gut and in your system, you're basically just compromising your immune system. And so one of the best things you can do is start improving your diet, but not just that, but improving your actual digestive system and your gut health, which we're going to get kind of more into. Something else I wanted to add was processed foods and foods with preservatives are unrecognizable to the body as food. So you're eating it and your body doesn't really know what to do with it. So it doesn't really break it down. You're not actually absorbing the nutrients. So when you're eating stuff that could be cheaper food or very tasty food that you really like, you're not actually getting any benefit from it. It's actually hurting you tremendously. So a lot of the foods, especially gluten, has lectins, and these lectins basically puncture your gut lining. So your digestive tract has this very thin lining that basically allows good bacteria in, keeps all the bad bacteria out. And when you eat these lectins or poor choice foods, unhealthy foods, it's basically puncturing little tiny holes in your gut lining. Then the bad bacteria gets in there, and that is what creates this distress. It creates this inflammatory response, so your immune system's got to go to work. That's when you have like upset stomach, you're bloated, you don't feel good, you're tired, brain fog. All these effects come from that, nausea, things like that. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding foods like that have these lectins, or just basically, I like to put it, foods with a lot of preservatives or highly processed, foods that are going to be detrimental to our digestive tract. I try to just avoid those things. And you can just look at the label. If you see an ingredient that you don't recognize or can't pronounce it, or if there's like a million ingredients on there, try to stay away from that kind of stuff. And we will talk about some things that you can do to improve your digestive system as well. One of those things is going to be like digestive enzymes, probiotics, more importantly, fiber and prebiotics, because she mentioned earlier bad bacteria and good bacteria. Well, the good bacteria that we actually need in our gut feeds off of prebiotics. So fiber, soluble fiber. So, you know, you've always heard about making sure you're getting fiber, and it's not just any fiber. You can't just go out and eat like a ton of whole grains, because that actually is insoluble, so it's going to do the opposite effect. So we want, you know, things like real yogurt to get like probiotics into your stomach, sauerkraut, kombucha. I mentioned that to our clients a little bit ago. That's a great way to get natural occurring probiotics and enzymes into your gut. Obviously, raw fruits and veggies will also help just get you better or more fiber, more probiotics and prebiotics for that good bacteria to feed on, and it's going to start to heal your digestive system. But unfortunately, because of however many years ago, 50 years ago, however long it's been, when we started adding in these preservatives and processed highly processed foods to just make foods last longer. It's basically wrecked our digestive system over the last 50 years or so. And so you have to rebuild it. Unfortunately, you can't just start eating better and all of a sudden all the problems go away. You have to start incorporating some enzymes and more probiotics and prebiotics in your diet for an extended period of time to actually start to improve your digestive system. So something that we do is we actually take digestive enzymes. When you eat carbohydrates, your saliva in your mouth when you're chewing it produces amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates for your body to utilize. If you don't have that much amylase, or if you're not chewing your food long enough, you're not going to produce as much amylase and be able to break it down. So then you're not going to be able to utilize those carbs for fuel, for example. If you're chewing on protein, you're going to produce the enzyme protease, which breaks down protein. And then for fats, it's lipase. So make sure you're chewing your food really good, but also you can take enzymes, which could include all three of those or separately, and they will actually help you digest those a lot better. So for example, with each one of my meals, and she's going to start this as well, we're taking, it's called mastozymes, and it's actually a combination of protease and lipase and amylase and other enzymes to help break down and utilize our nutrients better. Because if, what's the point of eating all this healthy food if you can only utilize, say, half of it?
Right.
If we're eating 3,000 calories of fruits and vegetables and high quality proteins and spending this money and you're only able to utilize so much, you're kind of wasting a lot of it. So we want to make sure we're optimizing our digestive system. So we're taking these enzymes, we're taking probiotics and prebiotics, and basically just making sure that we're getting all the benefits that we need from the nutrients that we're taking into the body. It's possible that most diseases actually come from leaky gut and poor digestive system because, like she said, 80% of the immune system is in the gut, and if you have this leaky gut where all this bad bacteria is getting into your body and just wreaking havoc all over, and your immune system's in this constant battle, that's what leads to a lot of the diseases we see today, especially weight gain and obesity, is because you have this leaky gut and it's promoting inflammation and all the bad nutrients are getting in there, and then it's spiking those cravings, so you get more and more and more and more of it build up, and then all of a sudden you're leading to so many different problems. So it's definitely probably one of the most important things you can possibly do is take care of your digestive system, your microbiome to an extent. So.
Yeah, definitely. I know you guys were speaking about how whole foods and eating a better diet can improve your gut health. Some foods that can really help are lentils, chickpeas, so different legumes, oats, bananas, we have asparagus, garlic, nuts, like things like that. So I'm naming a lot of whole foods. Just trying to kind of diversify what you're eating too is going to help improve your gut health. This kind of a staggering stat that I found was 75% of the world's food comes from 12 plants and 5 animal species. So that's a really, with the amount of plants and the amount of animals in this world, think about that, only 12 and 5, and 75% of our world's food comes from that. That's
not very diverse.
Yeah, so not very diverse. So really trying to go out of your comfort zone. I was talking about this with my brother. I was like, it's so weird going to the grocery store and buying things that you've never bought before. It can be kind of intimidating, feel really, you're almost like, I don't know if this is good, I don't know how it should look or feel or whatever, but just taking that chance, getting it and then trying it and, go from there. You got to experience it, you got to try it before you can kind of write it off. And then I thought another crazy stat that was on this website was that rural regions of Africa and South America, they actually found that they have a more diverse gut health than the United States and Europe. So that just shows that we're kind of locked in this mindset of we can only eat this certain amount of food or a certain type of food. We gotta try and find ways to get out of that and try new things. So I just wanted to speak on that because I feel like people kind of get, even myself, I've gotten caught up in my ways and I just kind of eat the same thing over and over and over, and it's really not doing much for your gut bacteria and the health of your gut. So trying to switch it up I recently started a diet, and like I definitely can tell my gut is reacting to what I'm eating. I don't feel good some days, but like the days I feel good, I feel way better than I ever have. So it's interesting. It's cool to kind of see how you feel after you eat certain things. I know a lot of people, I've had clients, actually I've had 2 or 3 clients recently reach out to me and say red meat does not sit well with them. Like they just can't even do it. It does not break down in their gut well. It doesn't make them feel good. They get bloated. So listening to your body, doing things like that, and like taking those things out of your diet.
Yeah. So here's something interesting on that. When I talked about like the lectins earlier, one of the most popular lectins, I guess, would be gluten. And that's why it's really bad in your digestive system for a lot of people. But what's interesting is you become not what you eat, but what your food ate.
Yep.
So when you think about all the beef and pork and things like that, like the pigs and cows, what they're eating is what you're ingesting. So the meat actually, when you eat the meat, you're not just eating the protein of the meat, you're eating what they ate, which is corn and all this bad stuff that they shouldn't be eating, because a lot of them are not grass-fed beef, and that's why that's so much better. Corn should not even be in our diet, and high fructose corn syrup, all that stuff. Try to avoid that as well. But think about where you're getting your food and what your food ate, because that is actually what you're eating. Something really interesting, I watched this video with this doctor, which is a specialist in gut health, and he was in, I can't remember what country it was, maybe it was England, but anyways, they had a huge population of fish, and they were actually feeding their chickens and cattle fish instead of other types of foods like grass and corn or whatever. And their kids got KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the chicken, they said, "Dad, you tricked us, this is not chicken, this is fish." And the chicken actually tasted and felt like fish because that's all the chickens were eating was fish. So it changed their meat actually changed to what they were eating, basically. So we kind of are what we eat to an extent. And that's why, if you notice, if you eat a really poor diet, and you get the reflection on your skin and stuff, like the way you feel, and the way you see yourself. And that's why when you eat really, really healthy foods, like your skin gets better and brighter and smoother and things like that. And when you eat really poor, you get breakouts and things like that. So your skin is like a direct reflection, like a mirror of your digestive system and what you're eating. So I just wanted to kind of point that out and add that on, because that could be why, is because the choice of the meat that they're eating could be just, if they maybe tried a grass-fed option, might be completely different.
Yeah, that's very true.
So be careful about where you're getting your food as well. Try to get grass-fed or organic or something.
Wild caught fish,
Right. And like a thing with that, because you mentioned that you started like paleo, and that's could be seen as like an elimination diet where you take out certain things like grains and stuff, which can be very like inflammatory, cause like digestive issues for a lot of people. And some people, it might be like a carnivore diet or vegan or something like that, and they might feel great, fantastic. Well, like the reason for that is because if they're not eating like grains, they're not feeding that bacteria that was feeding off of them. So they might feel really good and everything with that, but that's just because it's killing off all those bad bacteria. So that's why when a lot of people start to eat better and more natural foods, they're feeding the good gut bacteria and they're killing the bad. So that's like one of the major reasons why they feel so much better. It's not just because they're eating healthier and they're working out more and having more energy and stuff like that. It's also just how your body is digesting and utilizing that. But then, another caveat to that, because how you were talking with, we're going to be taking these probiotics, you already are, and these enzymes to maximize the absorption of all these nutrients. A lot of people, they'll eat healthier, but then they'll have more gut issues because they don't have like the necessary enzymes. Yeah, they don't have the proper enzymes because they weren't eating it before. So their body's like, we don't need these enzymes, we'll start producing them. And then years down the road, they want to get healthier and get back into eating better foods, and they don't have these enzymes anymore. And your body can start to reproduce them, with the exception of lactase, which is the enzyme that breaks down lactose, because certain people, they'll grow lactose intolerant or it'll be genetic. And some people are just genetically predisposition to have certain like enzyme deficiencies, so they don't break down protein as well, or other certain foods, because everyone's genetics are a little bit different. And like the important thing with that is like, yes, they may all be like healthy foods, but they might not always be optimal for your digestion and your gut health. But there are ways to, like, if you slowly reintroduce it back in, you just do like small amounts, your body will start to adapt and like start to reproduce those enzymes, and then your digestion will hopefully improve from that. And then like another interesting fact with that is your body tends to do best with things that your ancestors ate, because you know your ancestors have very similar genetic data to you, and that means that you know what they used to eat. So like, I don't know, I'd probably say meat and potatoes for me, because I'm from, you know, I got German, Irish, and Polish, and meat and potatoes, that's pretty much a staple. I mean, not a ton of veggies, but you know, there's some in there, like maybe carrots or something. And you know, that tends to do very well with my gut. Rice tends to upset it a little bit. Just feels a little bit more like bloated, I would say, if I ate rice. Breads usually do generally fine, but then like oats are fine. So just like different things kind of affect different people, like just because of like their genetic makeup sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to your body.
Yeah, so what we suggest might not work perfectly for you. You kind of have to experiment, like Austin was saying. And actually what's cool about what Austin's doing is he actually is going to try out multiple different diet plans and different ways of eating to see what works the best for him. And I think that's really, really cool, because he's going to try, you know, one diet for, how long are you going to try?
30 days at a time.
30 days at a time, and then he'll try something different. And so that way he can see how his body reacts to this. And then he'll have more knowledge when talking with his clients, which is really cool too. Something else I wanted to touch on, which I thought was really, really cool, because a lot of the population suffers with like heartburn. So your stomach has hydrochloric acid, which starts the digestion process. So after you start chewing on something and you swallow it, about 30 minutes later, your stomach produces hydrochloric acid, starts breaking down the foods that you're eating. Well, heartburn actually comes from not too much hydrochloric acid, which you're told, and you're actually given medication to help reduce it, but it actually comes from not having enough of the hydrochloric acid breaking down and starting that digestive process. So instead of taking a antacid or like Prilosec or whatever you would take for heartburn, you want to actually have more HCl, hydrochloric acid, which is really cool is you can actually supplement this. So something that I've been adding into my diet just to help with the digestion process is hydrochloric acid. So just to be able to start the digestion process earlier and be able to break down those nutrients before it gets into my digestive system is going to help me utilize all my nutrients much, much better. So that's just something I wanted to point out. If you are somebody that suffers with heartburn, try this out, because you can actually avoid having to take any kind of medications or over the counter or anything, which will actually lead to more issues too down the road, because it's just going to, you know, have a little bit more effects than just solving the problem. You're kind of limiting it for a certain amount of time, but then it's going to lead to a worse problem. With most medications, I would say that's kind of the case. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think there's a way to test for that, isn't there? Like
yeah.
Baking soda.
Yeah, there's a way to test to see how your right here. So mix a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 6 ounces of water. Drink on an empty stomach first thing in the morning before eating or drinking. If you have sufficient levels of stomach acid, the baking soda will be converted to carbon dioxide gas, which cause like belching within less than 5 minutes. If you have not belched within 5 minutes, stop timing it. If you have enough stomach acid, belching should occur within 2 to 3 minutes. So early and repeated belches might be due to excessive stomach acid, but they could also be due to swallowing air when drinking the solution. If normal belching doesn't occur until after 3 minutes, stomach acid is low. So basically, if 2 to 3 minutes, if you start belching, you have normal stomach acid. If it takes longer than that, your stomach acid could be low, or no belching at all could be low stomach acid. So if you have sufficient stomach acid, it will lead to belching basically. So you could always try that out. I would say the majority of the population's probably got low, or if you suffer from heartburn a lot. And heartburn, I mean, one of the ways is just to cut out unhealthy foods as well, because that's going to hurt your digestive system. And like we talked about, the good bacteria, the hydrochloric acid, all that stuff is just going to deplete that, and your digestive system is going to be worse off from all those bad foods. So
that also could be why the protein affects them, because like HCl is what breaks down protein in the stomach. That's where protein digestion actually starts. Like the protease in the mouth does prime it, but that's where it starts because it actually breaks down the denaturation of protein. That's what it's called. Like actually stringing apart the amino acids for absorption and breakdown. So I mean that could be
they
might not have enough HCl in their stomach.
Something interesting. This isn't really. It's kind of related to what we're talking about, but you only actually digest and utilize about 70 to 80% of the protein you eat. So if you eat 100 grams of protein, 20% of that about is actually not going to be digested or broken down at all. So that's just very interesting. So think about that too. And another kind of tidbit on that, if you have a poor digestive system and you're eating 2,000 calories, you might only be utilizing, 1,500 or 1,000. So whereas somebody that is optimized might be utilizing closer to 100%. So they're getting a lot more of the nutrients. And so you might actually have to end up eating more food if you have a very poor digestive system.
Does the rest just go to waste? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Could lead to more weight gain potentially if it's not obviously the right food. But it would just go to waste basically. Just pass right through, and you wouldn't be able to break down and utilize it. Which, when you think about eating, the whole purpose of eating is basically to nourish the body with nutrients. So if you're unable to break down and utilize the nutrients, you're just wasting that good food.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you optimize your digestion, you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and it's going to improve your immune system. So optimizing your digestive system will improve your immune response. So sickness is going to be, you're going to be able to fight off diseases, sickness, all that stuff much easier. So one of the best ways to, and a lot of people are advertising this on TV every single day, probiotics, great for your immune system. It's not that probiotics directly boost your immune system, it's because probiotics improve your digestive system, which is where 80% of our immune system lives.
Right.
So by improving that digestive system with the prebiotics and probiotics and enzymes, therefore your immune system is enhanced. Right. So very, very interesting. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's right.
Okay. Well, if you have any questions on this, let us know. Can't stress to you guys enough how important this stuff is. I will add, I am lactose intolerant, so I cut out lactose and I feel a lot better. I just don't digest it very well. It upsets my stomach. Another thing that I've cut out a lot lately is gluten. So I used to eat a ton of whole wheat, whole grain bread, and I thought I was doing well by getting the whole grain and getting more fiber and things like that. But I ended up just having brain fog all the time. And I cut that out, and I've noticed that I'm a lot better. Still not perfect by any means. I still have a lot of work to do, but I just feel a lot better basically cutting out most gluten, which I think because of those lectins that I mentioned, it was producing a lot of leaky gut for me. So I wanted to optimize my own health, so I cut those things out, and then I added in the right enzymes that I need to help break down all my food. And if you ask me, and our clients kind of laugh at me or they get mad at me because I eat about 4,000 calories a day. So if you think about eating double the amount of the average person, you have to be able to break down and utilize that much food. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the best bang for my buck and optimizing my results. If I'm putting in the hard work in the gym and I'm eating all this healthy food, what's the point of it if you're not utilizing any of the nutrients? Yeah. So make sure you're taking this stuff seriously. If you want to know what probiotics or enzymes and stuff like that we suggest, please reach out. Don't just go to Walmart and buy anything off the shelf, because a lot of supplements, about 90% of the supplements out there, are going to have fillers. They're not tested. So you might be thinking you're doing the right thing, but it might just not be beneficial at all, and then you're wasting more money. The one that we're currently taking right now is called BiOptimizers. So if you just go to bioptimizers.com, maybe we'll put the link in the bio if you want to check that out. Another really good thing you can do is get like a high quality greens powder, just because it's going to be full of phytonutrients and greens and stuff that you're not typically going to eat. When you think about diversifying your foods, we're not eating barley grass and spirulina and all this stuff and kale and all. So by incorporating that, as long as it's a high quality one, like I said, it's tested for its quality, you're going to get so much more diverse nutrients and vitamins and prebiotics, probiotics in there, and enzymes too. Not just that, but vitamins and minerals to basically help optimize your every process in your body, including your digestion. So that's another thing that I would probably recommend as well. And then after you take all that stuff, you might want to do like a real strict program for a certain amount of time, maybe 60 to 90 days, maybe even longer if you have a really bad digestive system, and then just do something to maintain it. Take a daily probiotic to maintain that health and good bacteria that you need. Continue to eat foods. We do have a list here, like real yogurt. Don't buy just a commercial yogurt that's full of sugar and stuff. But actual real yogurt does have some live probiotics in it. Kefir, sauerkraut, tempeh, kimchi, miso, kombucha, as I mentioned, pickles. Pickles is fermented. Fermented pickles actually are very high in probiotics. And then raw fruits and vegetables. So start incorporating some of those as well every now and then, and that will also be very, very beneficial for your digestive system. So until next time, have a good day, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.